The rain tapped a relentless rhythm against the windows of La Dolce Vita, a cozy Italian restaurant tucked into a quiet corner of Portland, Oregon. It was a Thursday evening in late October, the kind of night that begged for warmth and intimacy, but instead it marked the unraveling of Elena Harper's world. She sat across from her husband of 22 years, Daniel Harper, her fingers tracing the edge of her wine glass as she rehearsed the words she'd been holding on to for weeks. The diagnosis: stage 2 ovarian cancer still felt like a stranger's story, not hers. At 49, she'd imagined a future of quiet retirement with Daniel, perhaps a move to the coast, not this cold, clinical reality delivered in a doctor's office with faded wallpaper and a flickering fluorescent light. Daniel, however, seemed oblivious to the weight of the moment. His eyes were fixed on his phone, thumb scrolling through messages with a faint smirk tugging at his lips. He'd always been handsome, tall, broad-shouldered, with a jawline that still turned heads, but lately, that charm had hardened into something distant, almost performative. Elena cleared her throat, determined to break through the wall he'd been building between them. "Daniel, I need to tell you something important." He didn't look up. "Can it wait? I've got a deposition tomorrow, and this case is a nightmare." His voice carried that clipped, impatient tone she'd grown accustomed to since his promotion to managing partner at Grayson & Pierce, a prestigious law firm downtown. The new role had come with a corner office, a six-figure bonus, and a schedule that left little room for her. "No, it can't wait," she said, her voice steady despite the tremor in her chest. "I've been trying to find the right moment, but—" "Elena, I need space," he interrupted, finally meeting her gaze. His hazel eyes, once warm and familiar, were now cold, resolute. "The Susit's not working anymore. I want a divorce." The words landed like a physical blow, stealing the air from her lungs. She'd been about to tell him about the cancer, about the surgery scheduled for next month, about the fear that kept her awake at night. Instead, she sat frozen, the tiramisu between them untouched, as he continued his rehearsed speech. "We've grown apart. I've changed. You've changed. It's better for both of us to move on. Is there someone else?" The question slipped out raw and unfiltered, though she already suspected the answer. The late nights, the new cologne she didn't recognize, the way he'd started locking his phone, it had all been there, whispering truths she'd refused to hear. He hesitated, just long enough to confirm her fears. "It's Lauren," he admitted, his voice softening as if that made it less cruel. "My paralegal. It wasn't planned. It just happened." "Just happened," she echoed, the phrase absurd in its simplicity. 22 years, 2 decades of shared dreams, late-night talks, and quiet compromises reduced to something that just happened over chicken parmesan and a glass of mediocre Chianti. "So that's it? You're done." "I've already spoken to a lawyer," he said, sliding a business card across the table. "He'll be in touch. I'm moving into an apartment this weekend. Let's keep this civil, Elena." Civil. The word stung more than the betrayal itself. She stared at the card. James R. Callahan, divorce attorney, then at Daniel's hands, the same hands that had slipped a ring on her finger all those years ago. Without another word, she stood, leaving her coat draped over the chair and her dignity scattered on the table. The rain soaked her as she walked to her car, but she barely felt it. The cancer could wait. Survival, it seemed, had just taken on a new meaning. The weeks that followed were a blur of paperwork and silence. The divorce papers arrived promptly, delivered by a courier who avoided her eyes as he handed her the manila envelope. Inside, Daniel had outlined the division of their life with surgical precision. The house on Belmont Street to be sold, proceeds split 50-50, retirement accounts divided. Even the antique dining table they'd bought at a flea market in their first year together assigned a dollar value. Elena read through it all in the kitchen, the same kitchen where she'd once baked birthday cakes for their anniversary parties, now empty save for the hum of the refrigerator. Her sister, Sophie, was the first to break through her isolation. "You can't just sign this, Elena," she said over the phone, her voice crackling with indignation. "He doesn't get to walk away with half of everything after what he did. Fight him. Take him for all he's worth." "I don't have the energy," Elena replied, her fingers brushing the spot on her abdomen where the tumor lurked. "I've got surgery in 2 weeks. I need to focus on that." Sophie's silence was heavy with concern. You still haven't told him about the cancer? No. And I'm not going to. He doesn't deserve to know. It wasn't spite, not entirely. It was self-preservation. Telling Daniel now would only invite pity or worse, a hollow attempt at reconciliation she couldn't trust. She signed the papers that afternoon, her signature steady despite the chaos inside her, and mailed them back with a note declining further discussion. Then she turned her attention to the fight she could win, the one against her own body. The surgery went smoothly, or so Dr. Gwyn assured her. We got it all, the oncologist said, her calm demeanor a lifeline in the sterile recovery room. With chemo, your odds are excellent. Elena nodded, still groggy from anesthesia, and let Sophie drive her home. The house felt different now, less like a home and more like a museum of a life she no longer recognized. Daniel's absence was everywhere, in the empty coat rack, the missing coffee mugs, the quiet that pressed against her ears. But it was during her first chemo session, hooked up to and for in a room full of strangers fighting their own battles, that Elena found an unexpected ally. Her father-in-law, Arthur Pierce, called her cell phone just as the nurse adjusted her drip. Arthur, a retired judge and the patriarch of the Pierce family, had always treated Elena like his own daughter, especially after her parents passed in a car accident a decade earlier. His deep, gravelly voice was a comfort she hadn't realized she needed. I heard about the divorce, he said without preamble. Daniel told me last week. I'm sorry, Elena. She swallowed the lump in her throat. Did he tell you why? Some nonsense about needing to find himself. I didn't buy it. I've seen how he's been acting, new car, new suits. That girl from his office trailing him like a shadow. Arthur paused, his sigh heavy. I'd still like to see you for our usual Sunday brunch if you're up for it. I'd like that, she said, surprised by how much she meant it. I'll be there. That Sunday, at a small diner called Rosie's, Arthur sat across from her, his silver hair catching the morning light as he spread jam on his toast. He was 84 but carried himself with the authority of his years on the bench. Daniel gets his ambition from his mother, he said abruptly, setting down his knife. She was relentless too. I'd hoped you'd temper that in him. I think I enabled it, Elena admitted, stirring her tea. I kept everything running so he could climb. Arthur reached for her hand, his grip firm despite his age. There's something you need to know, Elena. After Margaret died 8 years ago, I rewrote my will. Daniel's set to inherit the firm shares, the cabin on Mount Hood, and most of my estate. But I added a clause. She frowned, sensing the shift in his tone. What kind of clause? A moral one, he said, his blue eyes locking onto hers. If he divorces you without proof of your infidelity proof, he'd have to present in court the loses everything. The inheritance goes to my chosen charity instead. I made sure it was ironclad. Elena's breath caught. Why would you do that? Because I saw how he treated you even back then. Taking you for granted, putting his career over your marriage. I wanted him to think twice before throwing away something good. Arthur's mouth quirked into a wry smile. He never read the will. Too busy to bother with an old man's papers. The revelation hit her like a wave, washing away the fog of her grief. Daniel's demand for a divorce, his rush to move on with Lauren, had been a colossal misstep, one he didn't even know he'd made. As she walked home from Rosie's, the autumn leaves crunching under her boots, Elena felt a spark ignite within her. Not vengeance, not yet, but a quiet, simmering power. She had something Daniel didn't, knowledge, and with it the upper hand. Recovery became her proving ground. Chemo drained her, leaving her bald and exhausted, but it also sharpened her resolve. She leaned on Sophie, who moved into the guest room to help, and reconnected with old friends she'd let drift away during her years as Daniel's wife. She hired a financial planner, a sharp-eyed woman named Rachel, who helped her secure her half of the divorce settlement and start building a future of her own. And through it all, she kept Arthur's secret close, a card she wasn't ready to play. Then came the Instagram post that changed everything. It was late January, 4 months after the divorce was finalized, and Elena was scrolling through her phone during a rare moment of rest. Lauren had posted a photo from Timberline Lodge, the historic ski resort on Mount Hood where Daniel had proposed to Elena 23 years earlier. The caption read, "He asked and I said yes." Engaged mountain magic. The image showed Lauren's hand, a diamond ring glinting against the snowy backdrop, a ring Elena recognized as her grandmother's. One Daniel had claimed was too old-fashioned to wear. The comments poured in, a chorus of congratulations from colleagues, clients, even mutual friends who'd once sat at Elena's dinner table. The speed of it 4 months was a slap in the face, but the location was a knife to the heart. Timberline wasn't just a romantic spot. It was part of Arthur's estate, the cabin nestled nearby, a piece of Pierce family history. Lauren's next post sealed it. A photo of the cabin's interior, its rustic charm stripped away for sleek furniture and modern art, captioned, "Planning our engagement party here next month. New beginnings." Elena set her phone down, her hands trembling. Daniel hadn't just moved on. He'd erased her, rewriting their past to fit his new narrative. But he didn't know about the will. Didn't know that Timberline, the firm's shares, everything he was building his future on, hung by a thread she could cut. She called Arthur that night, her voice steady despite the storm inside her. "They're having an engagement party at the cabin," she said. "February 15th. Arthur chuckled, a low, knowing sound. "He invited me too. I told him I'm too frail to make the trip. But I'll be there the next day, after you've dropped your bombshell. My lawyer's sending the official notice to arrive the morning after the party. Timing, Elena, is everything." "You're sure about this?" she asked. "Never been surer." He made his choice. Now he lives with it. The next month was a whirlwind of preparation. Elena finished chemo, her hair beginning to grow back in soft, silver curls. She decided not to dye. She bought a dress emerald green, bold and unapologetic, and worked with Rachel to secure a new apartment downtown. A fresh start untainted by Daniel's memory. She even reached out to an old law school friend, Olivia Grant, now a partner at a rival firm, who offered to review Arthur's will and ensure its enforceability. "It's airtight," Olivia confirmed over coffee, her sharp eyes gleaming with approval. "Daniel's screwed unless he can prove you cheated, which he can't. You've got him, Elena. When are you telling him?" "At the party," she said. "In front of everyone." Olivia grinned. "That's my girl." The day before the trip, Elena packed a small bag, slipping the notarized copy of the will into her purse. She drove to Mount Hood alone, the familiar road winding through snow-dusted pines. Memories flickered: Daniel teaching her to ski, Arthur roasting marshmallows with them by the cabin's fireplace, but she pushed them aside. This wasn't about nostalgia. It was about consequences. The engagement party was in full swing when Elena arrived. The cabin glowed against the twilight, string lights draped across the porch, laughter spilling from the open windows. Cars lined the driveway, BMWs, Autos, the trappings of Daniel's world. She parked at the end, her breath visible in the crisp air as she stepped out, the emerald dress catching the light. Inside, a jazz trio played and guests mingled with champagne flutes in hand. She recognized most of them partners from Grayson and Pierce, country club friends, even their old neighbor Tom, who'd once helped Daniel fix the cabin's leaky roof. No one noticed her at first. She moved through the crowd, a ghost in her own past, until she reached the living room. Daniel stood by the fireplace, his arm around Lauren, regaling a group of senior partners with a story. He looked polished, confident, the picture of success. Lauren, in a white dress that screamed bride-to-be, clung to him, her smile bright until she saw Elena. Her eyes widened and she nudged Daniel, who turned, his expression shifting from irritation to disbelief. "Elena." His voice cut through the music, drawing every eye in the room. "What are you doing here?" "Hello, Daniel," she said, her tone calm, almost cheerful. "Lauren, congratulations. I just wanted to drop by and wish you both well." The room went quiet, the jazz trio faltering. Daniel stepped forward, his jaw tight. "This isn't the time. Let's talk outside." "Oh, I won't be long," she said, pulling the envelope from her purse. "I just brought you something. A little wedding gift, you could say." Lauren's voice was sharp. "What is that?" "A copy of your future father-in-law's will," Elena replied, holding it out. "Specifically, the part about what happens if Daniel divorces me." Daniel's face drained of color. "What are you talking about?" Elena opened the envelope, revealing the document with its official seal. "Arthur added a clause 8 years ago. If you initiate a divorce without proof of my infidelity, which you don't have, you forfeit your inheritance. The cabin, the firm shares, everything goes to charity. Lauren snatched the paper, her hands shaking as she read. This isn't real. It can't be legal. It's very real, Elena said. The official notice arrives tomorrow. I just thought you should know tonight. Daniel stared at her. Then at the document, realization dawning. Dad wouldn't do this. He did, she said softly. Because he knew you better than I did. The room erupted. Lauren's scream, high, furious, cut through the murmurs. You said this was ours. You promised. She turned on Daniel, her dream unraveling before her eyes. Guests whispered, partners frowned, and the jazz trio gave up entirely. Elena turned to leave, her mission complete, but not before catching the chaos in her wake. Lauren storming off. Daniel scrambling to explain. The perfect party collapsing like a house of cards. She spent the night at a nearby lodge, the silence a bomb after the storm. The next morning Arthur called. It's a mess up here, he said, amusement in his voice. Lauren's gone. Daniel's a wreck. The lawyer's notice hit him like a freight train. You did good, kid. Thanks, Arthur, she said, sipping coffee by the window. What happens now? He loses it all. The charity's Thrillsome environmental group I've supported for years. As for you, you're free. Free. The word lingered as she drove back to Portland, the mountain fading in her rearview mirror. Daniel called that afternoon, begging to meet. Against her better judgment, she agreed, and they sat in a quiet diner, his polished facade replaced by exhaustion and regret. I didn't know about the cancer, he said, his voice breaking when she told him. Why didn't you tell me? You didn't give me the chance, she replied. And it doesn't change anything. He nodded, defeated. I've lost everything, Lauren, the firm, Dad's respect. I don't know where to start over. That's not my problem anymore, she said, standing. Good luck, Daniel. Spring brought new beginnings. Elena took a job at Olivia's firm, managing their pro bono cases, her years of organizing Daniel's events now a professional asset. Arthur sold the cabin, sending her a box of old photos and a note. You're the daughter I got right. And one quiet afternoon, as she unpacked in her new apartment, Daniel appeared at her door, holding a small package. Her grandmother's ring, returned at last. I'm trying to fix what I can, he said. It's not much, but it's a start. She took the ring, the weight of it familiar and strange. It's enough, she said, and closed the door. As summer bloomed, Elena stood on her balcony, the city sprawling before her. The cancer was gone, the marriage a memory, and the woman she'd become, stronger, wiser, herself, was all that remained. She smiled, the ring glinting on her finger, a reminder not of loss, but of what she'd reclaimed.
If you were the one in this story, how would you react? Would you stand up and fight back, or accept the unreasonable pressure and control from the HOA? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video with more people. Your small action gives us the motivation to keep bringing you more intense and engaging stories. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.